enormous amount of material. I wish we had more time to search. It has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life.
It's impossible to follow a Rick Lagina speech, so I am not going to even try.
It was late at night. Strong, cold winds were blowing across Oak Island, and the giant floodlights around the money pit were lighting up the entire excavation site like daytime. Over the last 12 years, Marty Lagina had spent more than $100 million on this island. Flood tunnels, collapsed shafts, failed digs. He had seen it all. But what happened that night was the first thing that left even Marty completely silent. Around 2 a.m., emergency alerts suddenly started flashing across the monitors inside the war room. Emma Culligan's deep scan readings had detected a massive underground anomaly, nearly 180 feet below the surface. According to the first data results, the metallic density was almost 68% higher than the surrounding soil. At first, the crew believed this could finally be the hidden treasure chamber people had searched for during the last 230 years. But as the scans became clearer, the entire atmosphere started changing. The structure visible on the monitors did not look like a natural cave. Straight walls, connected tunnel patterns, and a strange metallic reflection in the center. Some engineers warned that the underground structure could be dangerously unstable. The most shocking moment came when Marty himself stood in front of the monitor, watched the footage silently for a few seconds, and then walked out of the war room without saying a single word. Crew members could only stare at each other in confusion, because for the first time, it felt like the truth hidden beneath Oak Island might be far more dangerous than treasure itself. Before we reveal what the scans uncovered next, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happened after this discovery could become one of the most shocking and terrifying moments in Oak Island history. Make sure to subscribe, because what the team uncovered next may rank among the most chilling discoveries ever connected to Oak Island. At exactly 2:17 a.m., something changed inside the Oak Island war room. Outside, drilling equipment continued pounding away near the money pit as usual, but indoors, attention shifted instantly when a series of alerts began appearing across multiple monitors. At first, nobody seemed overly concerned. The crew assumed the system was malfunctioning. After all, readings this unusual had never appeared before. But within a short time, Emma Culligan ran the data again to verify the results. The room fell silent. The scans were showing a massive anomaly buried nearly 180 feet beneath the ground. Even more surprising, the metallic concentration in that area measured almost 68% higher than the surrounding Earth. This was clearly not an ordinary underground void. Advanced imaging continued producing the same pattern over and over: sharp boundaries, connected passage-like formations, and at the center, a highly concentrated metallic signature unlike anything previously detected on the island. What made the discovery impossible to ignore was consistency. The equipment generated the same results 3 separate times. That eliminated the possibility of a technical error. Emma remained focused as she reviewed scan after scan. She layered seismic information, historical drilling records, and recent borehole data on top of one another. With every comparison, the hidden structure became more defined. The mood in the room shifted dramatically. The crew was no longer puzzled. They were concerned. During years of exploration, Oak Island had produced countless misleading signals and dead ends. But nothing had ever looked quite like this. The only sounds inside the war room were the hum of electronics and the distant vibration of machinery outside. Some specialists suggested the anomaly could be part of a man-made chamber. Others warned that if the formation was unstable, any future drilling attempt might trigger a major collapse underground. Then Emma quietly broke the silence. This doesn't look natural. The effect was immediate. That single observation changed the entire conversation. For the first time, many team members began wondering whether something extraordinary had truly been hidden beneath Oak Island all along. Emma's latest analysis only deepened the mystery. The glow from the monitors illuminated the room as she continued reviewing the data late into the night. Because the readings were so unusual, the team had spent hours checking and rechecking every detail. Yet, the results refused to change. Again and again, scans from depths between 180 and 190 feet revealed the same formation. This wasn't a narrow tunnel or a random fracture in the bedrock. The data pointed toward what appeared to be an enclosed chamber measuring nearly 20 feet across. Then another detail caught everyone's attention. The surrounding soil showed resistance levels almost 40% lower than nearby areas. That suggested the space could be hollow, or possibly constructed. Emma compared every available source of information: historical drill logs, seismic surveys, modern borehole scans. No matter which layer she examined, the shape remained remarkably consistent: straight sections, curved connecting roots, a dense metallic region near the center. Opinions quickly began to divide. Some experts believed the formation could be connected to an ancient tunnel system buried beneath the island centuries ago. Others found that possibility less concerning than the shape itself. According to several engineers, a cavity displaying this level of symmetry at such depth would be extremely difficult to explain as a natural geological feature. By now, nearly everyone had gathered around the screens. Excitement and anxiety mixed together as they stared at the images. If the data was accurate, the mystery that had puzzled treasure hunters for more than 2 centuries might finally be approaching a breakthrough. Then Emma enlarged the final overlay and studied it carefully. After several moments, she spoke. "This structure appears to have been intentionally built." The room went completely quiet. For a brief moment, nobody said a word. It was as though everyone had reached the same realization at once, that whatever lay beneath Oak Island could be something far greater than a hidden treasure. Then came the borehole camera footage, and that footage raised even more questions. Later that night, the team lowered a specially designed camera deep into the money pit area. What followed would become one of the most talked about moments of the investigation. The camera slowly descended through darkness. At first, the monitor displayed little more than muddy walls and flowing water. But once it passed below approximately 170 feet, something unexpected entered the frame: a remarkably straight stone surface. Natural formations beneath Oak Island are typically rough and irregular, yet this wall appeared unusually smooth and uniform. As the camera moved farther down, another detail emerged. What looked like old wooden support beams became visible along the sides. Many had deteriorated over time, but their arrangement suggested deliberate placement, as though they had once reinforced an underground passage. Inside the war room, nobody spoke. Every eye remained fixed on the screen. Then something else happened. 3 separate flashes appeared briefly within the footage. For just a moment, it seemed as if the camera light had reflected off a metallic surface hidden deeper below. The team immediately replayed the recording. The flashes appeared again and again. Emma zoomed in to examine the images more closely, while engineers debated what they were seeing. Some believed the reflections could be coming from a metallic object buried underground. Others wondered whether they were looking at part of a chamber wall. But the most unsettling detail was still to come. The formation did not resemble a natural cavern at all. Instead, its layout appeared far more deliberate, almost as though it had been designed and constructed by human hands. One crew member quietly broke the silence. "If this was built by people, then it's been hidden down there for centuries." No one responded. For several long seconds, the room remained completely silent, because for the first time, the team began to wonder whether Oak Island's mystery was never just about treasure. What if the real secret was an entire underground network intentionally concealed beneath the island? Engineers, sound the alarm. The risk level suddenly changed. Following the borehole camera discovery, excitement quickly gave way to concern. Earlier, the crew had been convinced they were getting closer to the long-sought chamber, but only hours later, a new engineering assessment transformed the mood across the entire site. According to underground stability reports, a highly unstable section nearly 12 feet wide had developed beneath the money pit area. Measurements showed soil resistance steadily declining, while pressure levels underground continued climbing above normal ranges. For the engineering team, the warning signs were impossible to ignore. A single mistake during drilling could trigger a catastrophic collapse. Emergency meetings were immediately called inside the war room. Pressure maps refreshed constantly on the monitors as specialists monitored every change occurring below ground. At the same time, sensors linked to the island's infamous flood tunnel system began reporting unusual water movement. That immediately raised concerns. For decades, flood tunnels had been one of the greatest obstacles faced by treasure hunters on Oak Island. Now, it appeared that the same threat might be returning once again. Across the site, massive industrial pumps operated around the clock in an effort to keep water levels under control. Thousands of gallons were being removed every hour. Yet, despite those efforts, moisture readings beneath the ground continued rising. Their greatest concern was simple. If the chamber truly was an engineered construction, a collapse wouldn't just end the excavation. It could permanently destroy the evidence hidden inside. Suddenly, the multi-million-dollar operation entered a high-risk phase. Reports suggested daily losses had already climbed into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. One senior engineer delivered a blunt warning to Marty Lagina. "We may be standing directly above one of the greatest discoveries ever made, but going down there right now would be extremely dangerous." Those words spread tension across the entire site. Everyone understood that whatever was hidden beneath Oak Island wasn't just mysterious, it was becoming increasingly dangerous. Marty Lagina's unusual reaction. Was this the first time Marty Lagina truly felt uneasy? Over more than a decade of searching, Marty had faced challenge after challenge: tunnel collapses, failed drilling operations, broken equipment, millions of dollars spent with little to show for it. Yet, through every setback, he remained optimistic. His message to the team was always the same: "We're getting closer." But this night felt different. Inside the war room, the borehole footage continued playing repeatedly across the screens. Emma Culligan reviewed scan overlays while engineers discussed instability warnings. Throughout it all, Marty barely spoke. Several crew members noticed him staring at the monitors with unusual intensity, as though he was trying to process the full meaning of what they had found. Then he quietly stood up. Without saying anything, he left the room and walked toward the excavation area. Outside, cold winds swept across the island. Floodlights cast long reflections across the muddy ground. Far below, nearly 180 feet underground, the drilling operation had come to a halt. Marty stood there for several minutes, looking toward the exact location of the anomaly. People who had worked alongside him for years later admitted they had never seen him react this way. This was the man who had invested over $100 million, the man who refused to quit after countless disappointments. Yet, for the first time, he appeared genuinely troubled. Eventually, he spoke only a single sentence: "If what's really down there matches what these scans are showing, maybe we're not ready to uncover it." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Some crew members stopped what they were doing altogether. Back inside the war room, silence replaced the earlier excitement, because many began to realize something unsettling. Perhaps Marty wasn't worried about failing to find treasure. Perhaps he was worried about what they might actually discover, and that possibility was far more frightening. The hidden vault theory. Could an entire underground vault system exist beneath Oak Island? After Marty's reaction, a new theory quickly gained attention among the team. The focus was no longer on a single treasure chamber. Instead, investigators began asking a much bigger question. What if multiple chambers were connected together beneath the money pit? Emma Culligan and several experts started comparing the latest scan data against excavation records dating back more than 2 centuries. As they worked, a surprising pattern began emerging: historical tunnel reports, flood tunnel locations, modern anomaly readings. All seemed to intersect in ways nobody expected. The scans suggested there might be several connected passageways rather than a single isolated cavity. Certain anomaly lines extended eastward. Others appeared to lead toward locations where mysterious cave-ins had occurred decades earlier. But another detail raised even more concern. The overall anomaly zone continued expanding. That suggested the underground structure might be significantly larger than anyone initially believed. Inside the war room, rotating 3D models repeatedly displayed the same geometric patterns: straight passageways, circular chambers, structured layouts. Many engineers concluded these features were difficult to explain through natural geological processes alone. Some specialists even began referring to the anomaly as a centuries-old engineered vault system. Adding to the mystery, one historian presented records from early 19th century treasure hunters who claimed to have encountered stone passageways and wooden platforms underground. For years, those stories had been dismissed as legends. Now, modern technology appeared to be pointing toward the same possibility. The excitement among the crew began fading. In its place came nervous anticipation. Because if a connected underground complex truly existed beneath Oak Island, then the mystery was no longer just a treasure hunt. It could be evidence of a hidden construction project deliberately concealed centuries ago. The flood tunnels strike again. Just as the team seemed to be moving closer to answers, Oak Island's most notorious defense appeared to return. At approximately 3:40 a.m., emergency pressure alarms suddenly echoed through the excavation control center. Engineers immediately turned their attention to the monitoring systems. Water pressure inside the deep shaft had risen to nearly 35% above normal levels. Initially, experts assumed the readings were caused by ordinary groundwater movement, but within minutes it became clear the situation was far more serious. Reports indicated that between 8,000 and 10,000 gallons of water per hour were entering the excavation area through underground channels. The response was immediate. Massive industrial pumps, already operating around the clock, were pushed to maximum capacity as the team fought to keep the excavation from flooding. Despite operating around the clock, the powerful pumping systems were removing close to 250,000 gallons of water every day. Yet the situation continued getting worse. The water level refused to stabilize. Around the money pit, the ground itself was becoming increasingly unstable. Monitoring equipment identified a collapse risk zone stretching nearly 12 feet across. In several sections, soil resistance had already fallen by almost 40%. For engineers, that was a serious warning sign. They feared that continued drilling vibrations could trigger a sudden failure of the shaft. Inside the war room, flashing warning indicators covered the monitors. Emma Culligan remained focused on the data, carefully reviewing underground water flow patterns and pressure readings. Then another troubling detail emerged. The strongest water pressure readings were being recorded around the exact area where the suspected chamber was located. If the data was correct, the flood tunnels might not simply surround the anomaly. They could be connected to it. One senior engineer delivered a direct warning to Marty Lagina. If pressure rises another 15%, we'll need to start evacuation procedures. Those words immediately changed the mood across the site. Crew members began pulling expensive drilling equipment away from high-risk areas as quickly as possible. This was no longer just another excavation challenge. It felt as though Oak Island was repeating the same pattern that had frustrated explorers for more than 2 centuries. Every time someone got close to the answer, something seemed to push back. Crew members begin speaking out. What exactly were people experiencing underground? After the growing flood tunnel crisis, several crew members started sharing observations that added an entirely new layer of unease to the operation. Initially, everyone viewed the situation as a difficult engineering problem, but some workers were beginning to feel there was something unusual about what was happening below the surface. During overnight shifts, multiple crew members reported hearing strange metallic noises coming from deep underground, long after drilling operations had stopped. According to several accounts, repeated knocking sounds could be heard between roughly 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. The noises sounded as though metal was striking against a hard surface somewhere deep within the earth. At first, the sounds were dismissed as vibrations from nearby machinery, but workers claimed the noises continued even after equipment had been completely shut down. One anonymous crew member described noticing unusual markings while reviewing borehole camera footage. The patterns didn't resemble ordinary fractures in rock. Instead, they appeared as straight lines and geometric shapes etched into the tunnel walls. Interestingly, other workers reported seeing similar details. What made the situation even more unsettling was how consistent the stories were. Different individuals described many of the same things: metallic flashes, echoing sounds, strangely shaped passageways. As a result, tension inside the war room was no longer driven solely by engineering concerns. Psychological pressure was growing as well. Then one crew member quietly made a comment that nobody seemed eager to respond to. It felt like some kind of system was still operating down there. Silence followed. No one immediately answered, because the fear was beginning to evolve into something different. The concern was no longer just about flood tunnels or structural collapse. Some team members were starting to believe the hidden structure beneath Oak Island wasn't simply ancient. It may have been intentionally concealed and left untouched for centuries. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next chapter of this mystery could lead to one of the most astonishing discoveries in Oak Island history.